Taylor Dahl and Mia O'Brien.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Driven by Tire Outlet.
Brought to you by Underwood Jewelers.
And First Coast Lighting and Fans on 1010XL.
Well, we have reached the off-season as far as the Jacksonville Jaguars are concerned in full swing, I would say. Because in the break, all we did was basically talk about the draft upcoming and all the things that are off-season related. And it sucks because a year ago, we were fresh off of the Jaguars playing the Chiefs in the divisional round. My, oh my, a year flies by.
It's really wild, honestly.
It is.
It's like we're close to February already. We were talking about it in our meeting, and like we do our promo meeting, and obviously you work in advance a little bit, and we were already talking about like Players Championship and all of these other things that come in like February, March, and we're like, oh, it's already getting pretty close to that.
Yeah, we're about to turn our calendars to February and all the things that come with that. So yeah, I'm with you. It's just crazy how the outlook for a team can change so much too between the end of last season and certainly now. But the Jaguars did make the defensive coordinator hire official yesterday. Ryan Nielsen, he was the former Falcons coordinator. Defensive coordinator, had 1 year of experience there and then comes to be the coordinator here. Mia, I would say the first thing you learn about Ryan Nielsen is that he likes to play man coverage. Certainly the Falcons played it the third most in the league last season. And so he's going to be aggressive, and he likes man coverage. That's not exactly what this defense was this past season.
Yes, and right on cue, I think we've got maybe some breaking news from Rick Ballou. Who would have thought? He says that, and maybe this is what he heard from the same listener, 1010 listener, who tried to text in and tell the text line earlier this as well, that Dave Huxtable, the longtime college assistant coach, coordinator, who served as a senior defensive assistant in Atlanta last year, met Ryan Nielsen when they were working at NC State together, that he's joining the Jag staff. We had a listener already text into the station and say, well, Dave Huxtable's son played baseball at JU, so obviously he's coming. So I'm wondering if that's who Rick talked to. But no, I mean, this is very much a defense that, from what I have been told, is what Doug Peterson said he wanted when he first arrived in Jacksonville, which is a defense that gets after it, pressures the quarterback, man coverage, the full bulls, if you may, the full wink, whatever you want to call it, but with a young up-and-coming guy who my insiders in the ATL have said they believe will become a head coach in the National Football League someday. And I said this on in primetime, and I was thinking about it on the drive in. You go back to Ryan Nielsen's roots in the NFL in New Orleans, and you couple that with that wonderful photo that JP Acosta of SB Nation posted yesterday, where he kind of looks like Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club a little bit.
I think he looks like Dale Earnhardt.
Maybe Dale Earnhardt too.
That's what
I
at
can
least
see
that's
that.
what evokes.
But you look at that and you hear everything about Ryan Nielsen. We heard the sound from the practices and the training camp in Atlanta, and I just couldn't help but feel like, man, oh man, is this Duval's Dan Campbell? Not saying he's going to, be taking the head coaching job like Dan Campbell obviously has ascended to a head coach, but he did coach with Campbell when he was the assistant coach and tight ends coach in New Orleans when Ryan Nielsen was the defensive line coach. And that same kind of approach of like attacking each day ferociously, being a little more rah-rah, in your face, loud. I know Frank alluded to like a Joe Cullen, the younger, the lighter, a little bit rougher around the edges. And that, I think, could be just what this team needs, and that's no knock on Mike Caldwell. It's because Doug Peterson is a more mild-mannered, relaxed, approachable type of guy. Maybe as that defensive coordinator, which with Doug dealing so much on the offensive side of the ball, maybe on the defensive side of the ball, that's where you kind of get that more in-your-face, gritty, like yelling type of guy, and that's how you create that, the two different sides of the coin, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like it, and I think that it's interesting when you look at it too, because you mentioned it, Lauren, how he's almost opposite of what the Jags were good at last year. Everything that the Jags defensively kind of stood out with, especially when it comes to interceptions and stuff like that, Falcons were opposite in those
Takeaways,
areas.
good for the Jags, bad for the
Falcons. But opposite in a lot of other areas when it comes to especially consistency and when it came down the stretch. But I think that they were really good against third downs. They were really good in the red zone. Those were things where the Jags did struggle. So it's almost fitting because you've seen the Jags in the aspects. You've seen them have the takeover. takeovers. You've seen them excel in certain areas of the defense, but where they lacked, have a coach who has had success and recent success in Atlanta. And there's a lot of things that kind of factor into this. Falcons had the easiest schedule in the league last season when it comes to strength of schedule, so people are kind of pointing that out. But one of the things that I also think you have to look at is how bad the offense was and how many times I know, for example, when the Bears played the Falcons at the end of the year, the Falcons threw 4 interceptions, and so the defense was on the field for almost 40 minutes of that game. So you have to take into account some of those things because they weren't given an easy situation to they were playing from behind a lot. There was a lot of those scenarios, and they were still able to produce, and especially when you see the jump from 2022 to 2023, and a lot of that's his aggressiveness. And we heard Pete Prisco talking earlier, and he was like, the Jags just weren't physical enough last year, and this is someone who can bring that physical aspect to the defense.
Yeah, I'm sure his personality will be very different than Mike Caldwell's because I would say most defensive coordinators probably have a different personality than Mike Caldwell, who is very even-keeled. But I think the biggest thing is going to be scheme. That's, I think, all of our question going into this before Ryan Nielsen meets the media. What are you going to run? And I understand that no team is only 4-3 or only 3-4. There's always going to be hybrid stuff. But you do kind of have the base of what you want. And so that's what I think will be interesting because really in defense, it just like in all of football, it goes back to personnel. Do you have the personnel to play man?
Yeah.
Do you have the personnel to get after the quarterback? And I think a lot of people, Mike Caldwell probably included, would be like, yeah, I had Josh Allen and I had Trayvon Walker. Who else? I mean, yes, Dwan Smoot coming off of an injury and Caleb on Chasen's not going to give you a whole lot. Like, what exactly was I supposed to do?
All year. Yeah.
Devon Hamilton had the illness and then, didn't get to play for a long time and certainly wasn't the same player. He had 0 pass rush coming from the interior of that defensive line, which is a huge issue that they had all season long. So those, I think, are some bigger questions. It will be fascinating to watch now the personnel moves between here and when the season starts.
So I think that we can kind of find a little bit of a blueprint of what we can expect from Ryan Nielsen as the defensive coordinator. And we can find it actually through the projections from Over the Cap for who will have compensatory picks in this April's NFL draft. It's been noted, as I'm sure, and if you are just tuning into 1010 XL for the first time today, the Jaguars have the first third-round compensatory pick via the Jawan Taylor signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. But let's go down a little bit further. David Onyemata, who was as reliable a defensive lineman for the Atlanta Falcons this past year as any before he got hurt, is going to net the New Orleans Saints a 5th-round pick. Caden Ellis, and I want to make sure I get these stats right. Caden Ellis, an inside linebacker, probably didn't even know who he was or what position he played until I just told you that. He is netting the New Orleans Saints a 5th-round pick. I want to make sure I get these stats right because I know our friend John Shipley of Jaguar Report put it down. But the combination of Caden Ellis and their other inside linebacker, who's also like a no-name who you don't really know, combined for 18.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and a pick, I believe the numbers were because I can't find it right now.
So more pressure from the linebackers.
Yeah. Right, more pressure from those inside linebackers.
Just outside linebackers.
Caden Ellis came to the Atlanta Falcons from the New Orleans Saints. Who else came to the Atlanta Falcons from the New Orleans Saints last offseason? Ryan Nielsen. And so he brought those 2 guys with him. And so if you kind of look into what, the fact that clearly he made them a priority.
So you're saying Calais is coming back?
Well, that's what, and that's what all of Duval keeps asking. And I don't know. I mean, that I'm not
6.5 sacks. We'll take it.
I'm not going to speculate that. But the point I'm getting at is last year Atlanta had a ton of cap space, so they were able to go on a free agent frenzy. They were able to sign Calais. They signed Jesse Bates. Like, you go down the line, they were not afraid to throw money at high-priced free agents, especially on the defensive side of the ball, because the cupboard was so bare outside of Grady Jarrett and a couple of high-priced draft picks over the past, 3 or 4 years. And so they clearly dedicated some of that to Ryan Nielsen and said, pick who you want. And on the cheap, he got some of his own guys to bring with him. I'm not saying now that they're going to come to Jacksonville, but when you look at those profiles and how those players immediately had an impact in Atlanta's system, that can kind of give you an idea of what the current personnel in Jacksonville will be able to take their game to / change their game to. And also maybe who's a cap casualty because you want to bring in guys that are part of your system.
Well, and I would ask the question, is Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma going to be the inside linebackers alongside Foye Oluokun? That's what you would guess as of now. Again, a lot of things can change. Yeah. But are they good enough to be what you would expect out of them? Because what you're expecting in a scheme like that is the linebackers to do a whole heck of a lot. And I know that Foye is fantastic, but Devin, at times, we certainly have had questions, and Chad didn't play a whole lot this year. But there's certainly, it all starts to me, the personal decisions with Josh Allen and what happens. You would assume he's going to play here next year, whether that's for on the tag or whether that's because they sign a long-term deal. That is yet to be determined. But if I'm Ryan Nielsen, that would be the first thing I would be requesting is I need number 41 to be on the field next year. All right, I want y'all to finish this sentence. JJ, you too. Mia, I'll start with you. The Jacksonville Jaguars would have advanced to the divisional round this past weekend if, and fill in the blank. They would have advanced the divisional round last weekend if
there wasn't a phantom holding call on Anton Harrison or Brandon McManus makes the kick against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football on December 5th.
Okay, Taylor?
Mine's not as specific. I'm just going to say the offense was more consistent throughout the season in general.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. JJ?
If they had, 2 more wins, a better quarterback, I don't know, lots and lots and lots of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of
competent
things.
Defense.
Absolutely. I do think mine would be if Trevor Lawrence didn't get hurt. I think we can talk all day long about how, yes, they couldn't run the ball, the offensive line didn't play well, and all those things, and all the drops that had happened throughout the season. But if Trevor doesn't get hurt, in my opinion, they make it to the divisional round. I don't know that they win because they didn't win a year ago, but it sure feels like to me injury after injury after injury after injury. Eventually, he wasn't the same quarterback.
Well, I just feel like even if he got hurt against the Bengals, but they somehow scraped out a victory, he wouldn't have played against the Browns. They would have been in control of the number 1 seed in the AFC playoff picture. So he probably rests. Probably comes back against the Ravens, but who's to say that 1 week of rest maybe sets him up to have a better game against the
He's less
Ravens,
injured.
a better right, because then they don't completely change the game plan those next 2 weeks to try to counter and curtail to that injury. And then even if you don't beat the Ravens, you would hope you're healthy enough that maybe that Bucs game plays out a little bit differently. And the biggest answer, once you've beaten the Bengals and then you beat the Panthers, you're into the playoffs. That's all you needed, was to win 2 of those last 6.
Yeah, and who knows at that point if you win the wild card game like you did a year ago. Certainly coming down from 27-0 was a crazy way to finish that game. But certainly there's a lot of things that they were so close, yet it seems like so far now that we've seen 2 weekends of football go by without the Jags.
To me, there was nothing in the last 8 weeks that made me feel they could have won a playoff game.
Yeah, especially, and we just talked about the defensive coordinator. The reason they hired a defensive coordinator is because the defense certainly didn't play well. Quick. And, I mean, certainly the run defense just absolutely killed you there in that last game against the Titans. All right, when we come back, we will talk more about the divisional round in the NFL playoffs. You are listening to Helmets and Heels, driven by Tire Outlet on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Catch Gators basketball on 1010XL.
After 2 on the road, the Gators unpack against Mississippi State tomorrow night at 8:30 on 1010 AM.
Bush Loaded, the greatest hits tour. August 29th, Daly's Place. With special guests, Jerry Cantrell and Candlebox. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Bush Loaded, the greatest hits tour. A great night of incredible rock.
Now at Hodges Mazda, experience refined performance and turn heads in a 2024 Mazda CX-5 that feels like it is tailored just for you. Lauren Brooks here. Purchase a new 2024 Mazda CX-5 with 0% APR for 60 months plus no payments for 90 days. That's right, I said 90 days. Their professional non-commissioned sales team always puts your best interests first. And every vehicle purchased from Hodges Mazda comes with 2 years free maintenance, which I love. Visit Hodges Mazda online at HodgesMazda.com to discover the Hodges Mazda difference. See dealer for details, terms and fees for qualified applicants. Expires January 31st, 2024.
If your ride is making strange noises, don't wait and make it worse. Come to Action Transmission on Merrill Road. My expert technicians can diagnose the problem and likely fix it fast. Experience the difference at Action Transmission on Merrill Road.
Hey Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700, offices Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
Bridging the gap between the First Coast and the swamp.
Gators.
I'm Taylor Dahl. Join me for the Gator Report on 1010XL as I break down the latest storylines in Gator Nation.
Brought to you by Darley's Plumbing, where quality counts on 1010XL.
Local 234 Plumbers, Pipe Fitters, and HVAC Technicians is now taking applications for their state-certified apprenticeship program. As an apprentice, you'll receive excellent benefits, higher pay, job placement, and even earn college credit. The 5-year programs include plumbing, pipe fitting, welding, and HVAC. A career as a journeyman means stability and security. For more information, visit ua234.com/apprenticeship. Local 234. Make the right connection.
Certainly facing challenging economic times. I can't speak for all of us. But for me, comforting to know my money is in good hands with ITP Partners. Ticket here for ITP Partners. Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. I'll admit it, I don't understand a ton about the economy. Higher interest rates, 401ks. What I do know as I move closer to retirement, I continue to watch my money grow. Thanks to Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, and Reed Wingate. Get in the game, guys. ITP Partners, always there to help. For more info, Chris at ITPPartners.com or call 904-312-9751.
The Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute is now offering online scheduling for new patient appointments for all of their physicians. Simply schedule your appointment on your cell phone, tablet, or desktop. JOI is the first orthopedic practice in North Florida to offer this feature to patients. To schedule your appointment online, visit joi.net and click on the button at the top of the page. If you'll be using insurance, be sure and have your information handy. JOI, where the pros go.
Whether you're undertaking a major home renovation or just a simple repair request, American Electrical is your 5-star Jacksonville-based electrician to get the work done right. Experienced design building department working seamlessly with their electrical contracting department to help you create beautiful lighting spaces and electrical plans that make your house flow. And remember, with American Electrical, it's wired right at a fair price. Call American Electric at 737-7770. Look for that red, white, and blue eagle on the side of their truck, and you'll know it's American Electrical.
Brian Wall here. Would you take your paycheck, go to the bank, cash it, and then simply throw it up in the air? I didn't think so. But in a way, over the years, that is exactly what you're doing if you have old or builder-grade windows in your home. Even if you have a brand new home, those windows are not the best windows you can have to save on your energy bills. Window World has sold millions of replacement windows to homeowners like you, and Window World's customer satisfaction is the highest in the business. Please check Window World out yourself and save on your new windows and on your energy bills. Compare with other companies and you'll see Window World is simply the best for less. It's up to you. You can call Window World and get a free estimate, get the best guarantee in the window replacement business, save money on your new windows, and save more on your energy bills. Call Window World today at 904-443-7001 or go online to windowworldneflorida.com. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels, driven by Tire Outlet.
Brought to you by Underwood Jewelers.
And First Coast Lighting and Fans on 1010XL.
Taylor Dalmia O'Brien, J.J. Silva, I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this Tuesday night. All right, Taylor, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that your favorite moment from the divisional round was the fact that Jordan Love threw that interception and the Packers went down to the 49ers. Is that correct?
Oh, that was it. Yes. You would have thought that the Bears were in the Super Bowl the way that me and my friends, because we have like our Bears group that usually watches the Bears game together, got together to watch this game.
To root against the Packers.
Yes. And we were just like, at one point I was making fun of us because I was like, okay, guys, we got to calm down a little bit. This is just us cheering against the Packers, but that's just how deep it is with them. And yeah, so when he threw that pick at the end, I was just like, amen. And I had just mentioned, I think on the show last week, or maybe it was the week before, where I said, Jordan Love had thrown interceptions in 7 games, and they lost 6 of the 7 games. So now he literally in 8 games of his career in this last season, he's had an interception and he's lost 7 of those. It's a weird, and I know we always talk about how like don't turn the ball over, but I wonder how many are that drastic of you lose pretty much every single game where you throw even one.
Yeah, it certainly that one didn't come at a good time, and it was a very ill-advised throw. It's almost, I feel like everyone watching live, no matter who you were cheering for, going, don't throw that ball across your body over the middle of the field. Like, that is the one thing, I'm sure you get taught a lot, but that's certainly one of the things that they teach you. Mia, was your favorite moment from Buffalo? The tailgate?
Oh, yeah, the tailgate was great. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's always entertaining. Let's be real here.
But would you ever do that? Like, I know you don't normally tailgate before games. For people who missed it, Buffalo Bills fans, as they always do, getting rowdy before the game, that's well and good. They jump onto tables. Okay, they like to break tables. I personally wouldn't want to do that because I feel like it would hurt, but either way. But to jump onto a table that's on fire on purpose, that's really dumb.
Especially because, no offense, but if this was the 0 degrees from the week before or it's snowing, yeah, sure, maybe that then will, de-ignite, right? Or put out the flame.
Mm-hmm.
It was only like 28 degrees, 30 degrees. Like, that's barely at freezing. Not really sure what the thought process was there.
I'm sure they think, well, there's snow everywhere. I'll be fine.
Yeah, that's why I claim Central New York and the Finger Lakes is my second home, not Western New York out there in Buffalo. They're a little crazy. But, yeah, no, I mean, it was certainly the best game. It had the best storylines, whether it was the tailgates, whether it was the matchup of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, which I've seen so many folks, beginning with Nick Wright of Fox Sports, who now are proclaiming that is not our version of Brady versus Peyton. That is our version of Brady versus Phillip Rivers, who will never win anything. And so many people have floated that number of the cap hit that Josh Allen's contract will put upon the Buffalo Bills payroll next year, and what that does for players like Micah Hyde, like Jordan Poyer, important pieces to that Buffalo Bills DNA over the last 5 years that they won't be able to pay them. They're going to have to draft well to continue to have success. Can Josh Allen put this team on its back? Have they found the answer in Joe Brady at the OC position? Win or lose, so many interesting storylines coming out of that one. And then, of course, Patrick Mahomes, man. Is he really becoming like Brady, not just with the Super Bowl rings and the accolades, but you just can't kill him? Or did Buffalo let this game get away? I think there's just so much fascinating storylines long-term coming out of this game. And also just the Bills craziness with Bills Mafia.
It's really interesting to look at the Bills because the way that Stephon Diggs has just fallen off the second half of the season, and it's wild because he's someone that for the last couple seasons, at least pre-season starting, you're talking about how he's a top wide receiver, but then when you look at his numbers down the stretch this season, he really didn't do much at all. He's been in top 5 of drops in the league for 2 years in a row, most last year, and then now I think tied for 3rd this year when it comes to dropping the ball. Those are things you can't do if you're a wide receiver one, if you're supposed to be that guy that the quarterback can go to and confidently count on. And that's why I think a lot of people are talking about Calvin Ridley in that sense here in Jacksonville. Is like, do you keep him? Because when you are counting on a guy to be your guy, you need to be able to trust him to be in the right spot and to catch the ball and run the right routes and all of these other things. And there's issues with that. And I think also down the stretch also, we talked about how beat up the Bills when it comes to linebackers especially, but they had injuries all over the place. It was unfortunate for them because it all kind of started happening at the end, and it was right when they were playing really well, but then they also started getting just hit by injuries. But I think one of the things we have to look about is at least this round of games were competitive because the wild card games were not. I think there was one good wild card games, and all of these games were less than a touchdown apart at halftime.
Yeah, I felt like were almost tied at the half. I think the 49ers led 9-7 at the half, and the other first 3, I think, were all 10-10. I mean, the first 2 were 10-10, and then what was Chiefs?
Well, yeah,
Bills?
It was 10-10. Ravens, Texans were 10-10. Niners, Packers was 7-6.
7-6.
Bucks, Lions 10-10, and then Bills, Chiefs was 17-13.
Okay, yeah. A lot of 10-10 in there. Did you notice that?
Yeah, 10-10.
Yeah, I would say I laughed the hardest as far as moments off the field at Jason Kelce.
Ugh, he's fantastic.
Oh,
like,
yes.
I'm not a Travis Kelce fan. He's
By
a
the
great
way,
tight end.
As soon as you say this, I want to put the disclaimer out there. I know if you're driving around Jacksonville right now, there's at least a handful of you saying, Jason Kelce just absolutely demolished Jacksonville with his words, and he said bad things about our city. Look, yes, he did. A lot of people have said bad things. I wouldn't put him in the pantheon of people to disrespect Duval. And I understand that, like, that disrespect runs deep. But, like, we can isolate Jason Kelce, the retiree, freshly off of, his final season in the NFL. Leon was doing the math. He's, like, the only center in the last 20 years to have made 6 Pro Bowls, or 6 All-Pro lists, excuse me. Like, we can honor that career, and then you can talk about him disrespecting Jacksonville.
Well, yeah, you can still be annoyed at the fact that he said mean things about our city because, yeah, we have a pride of our city because anyone who's ever lived here understands how fantastic it is. But to me, just the shirtlessness that existed, like, again, I'm not a Travis Kelce fan. I'm not a Jason Kelce fan. I don't listen to the podcast. I know, like, a lot of attention. We saw that all season from Travis, and I think we saw that certainly from Jason as well in that game. But it was funny, and especially, too, all the people who are literally tuning in to see Taylor Swift and then Jason Kelce
just right in front of her.
Like, that to me was hilarious. But I think the coolest story of the divisional playoff is the story about the Lions. I mean, here's this team that hasn't done what it's doing in not just 30 years, but hasn't hosted or been in a championship game. They don't get to host, unfortunately for them, but hasn't been in a championship game since 1957. Like, that's insane. And to do what they're doing and just the homegrown talent with Aiden Hutchinson, and I know Jaguars fans, Mia, to your point, don't want to talk about anything positive about him either. I get it. We got a lot of hatred down here, don't we?
Yeah. Well, and I think the story's cool, and the loyalty of Detroit fans, too. It's something that Lions fans are very passionate, and they've stayed passionate through all of this time, through all of the losing. You had to sit there and watch your quarterback of however many years it ended up being leave your team and win a Super Bowl. And it's just like one diss after another. And it's not like they never had talent. You had Megatron. You had all of these guys that have been there that you're like, man, like there's moments where you should have had chances to win. And maybe there were kind of on the cusp at certain points. But it also, just like in the NFC North, having to deal with 30 years of Hall of Fame quarterbacks hadn't been easy. But it's a cool story. And that's why even last week I was like, I'm not cheering for them because obviously I will never cheer for a divisional opponent to like go win the Super Bowl. But they wouldn't be one where I'd be mad because I do feel, I'm like, man, I feel you. We've been there. We've been in that losing for a long time also.
Yeah, and I think when it all boils down to it, you've got some great storylines in both of the AFC Championship and the NFC Championship. And we've already seen all the stats and graphics that ESPN has like 5 of its most watched games ever in the last 13 months. The most watched game ever was this past weekend for ESPN. Like the numbers are going to be wild and crazy. But I do think like having Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson, the AFC Championship game, to me, couldn't have gotten much better than that.
Yes, you have the MVP versus the GOAT. I mean, at this point.
Yeah, who could be the MVP every year.
Right.
But I understand Lamar earned it this year.
That was the territory we were approaching with Tom Brady. So that's where I think you can absolutely put Patrick Mahomes, especially now fresh off of his first playoff victory of his career. You could absolutely put him in the GOAT conversation if you haven't already. I know JJ put him in there a couple years ago. And then in the NFC, you have the former number 1 overall pick who got forgotten about against
the last pick.
Literally Mr. Irrelevant. So honestly, like 2 forgotten men who, granted, have played very well and have been among the top 10 quarterbacks statistically all year long. So it's not like, no offense, it's not like the Blake Bortles, Nick Foles Final Four from 2017. But then on the other half, you have arguably the 2 best quarterbacks, if only statistically, the past year.
Yeah, but it's interesting, too, because I feel like there are more stars maybe in the NFC Championship game outside of the quarterbacks. Like, I feel like there are some.
You go through full rosters of names you would name.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially because the Chiefs, I mean, you talk about Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, and obviously there's some names, but for the most part all year we've been like, he's throwing to. We're seeing Marcus Valdez-Scantling come out of the woodworks again, and then Kadarius Toney didn't even play. So Pacheco had a game where you're like, wow, like these guys are the moments you've talked about them, but never consistently throughout the season.
Yeah, it's championship DNA and winning franchises, and that's what makes all of us so mad yet again. Talking about more dislike from the Jacksonville Jaguars fan base. Nobody likes the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, when we come back, we'll review our impact players and pick our impact players moving forward.
Real quick, before we take a break, a bit of breaking news.
Oh.
As we officially do have the selections to the Baseball Hall of Fame
All right.
by the Baseball Writers Association of America. For the class of 2024, Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, and Joe Mauer have all earned election to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Billy Wagner missed the final stage, making it to the Hall of Fame by 5 votes.
Oh, that's got to be
Ninth
difficult.
year of eligibility, and he came up just short of the 75% needed to be enshrined into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's going to be tough to sleep tonight. All right, we've got more to do right here on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
2 receivers right, 1 to the left. Crowd getting involved.
Stay close to the Jaguars.
Fires into the end zone.
On the home of the Jaguars.
Touchdown, Jacksonville!
1010XL.
New year, new truck. There are trucks, and then there's the truck, the GMC Sierra, the one I drive. Frank Frangie here. The Sierra boasts a V8 engine, the ultimate luxury interior, and the world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. This month, save up to $10,000 on select new GMC Sierra 1500s and enjoy rates as low as 0.9% APR financing. Shop 24/7 online at nimnickbuickgmc.com. Nimnick, your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC, we are professional grade.
Hey there, Mia here for Window Gang. You know, Window Gang is more than America's leader in window cleaning. They offer gutter and dryer vent cleaning, pressure washing, and more to give your home a beautifully polished look for the new year. They're total pros, always on time, great prices, and satisfaction guaranteed. Call their super friendly staff at 262-7300 to schedule your free estimate. Call now for their New Year's specials, 262-7300.
Toilet or shower not draining? Water bill high? So many issues you want to cry? Call Mr. Rooter of Jacksonville. Have your number 2 business serviced by your number 1 plumber. Let us do your dirty work. Call us today.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm that has experience and capabilities to handle any legal issue a business is confronted with. Learn more about what they can do for you at jimersonfirm.com.
Now that's what I call high-quality H2O.
If you want high-quality H2O in your home, call your local water boy, Keith, at Kenai Water Jacksonville. That's Kenai Water Jacksonville.
Hey, Scarline here. Tired of missing out on the conversation due to hearing loss? At Jacksonville Hearing and Balance, their team of audiologists led by Dr. Douglas Green can help you rediscover the joy of connection. Visit jhbi.org today.
I was on the go. It was time to eat. I said, baby, where my Danny? 'Cause there can't be beat. She got something else when it was time to choose. And after just one bite, I got that soggy sandwich blue. Should've known better, only Danny will do. Got that hometown flavor creeping up on you. Yeah, she done me wrong. Didn't get my dandy. I need my ham and cheese.
That's all he wanted. That's all he wanted.
Should've known better, only Dandy will do. Got that hometown flavor creeping up on you. Yeah.
You don't have to be a football star to get a signing bonus. The team at Republic Services needs your skills, and they're paying up to $5,000 for you to join the roster. You'll be joining a winner. As an essential business, the Republic Services trucks have not stopped rolling with hourly and weekly pay and better benefits and vacation packages than the rest of the league. Driver trainees, $1,000 sign-on bonus. CDL drivers, $3,000. Diesel mechanics, $5,000 bonus. Join the winning team at Republic Services today. Visit republicservices.com.
Equal opportunity employer.
Start your 2024 off right. Join the Jacksonville Business Journal in partnership with Fifth Third Bank and Franklin Street for the 2024 Economic Outlook, January 24th. It's an afternoon dedicated to the latest information, including national and regional trends impacting our economy. You'll hear updates from Jeff Korzenik, Fifth Third Bank's chief economist, and Tony DeSisto, Franklin Street's COO. And you'll have a chance to network with business leaders from our community. Learn more and get tickets at jbjevents.com.
A lot of companies will tell you they're the best. At Custom Tree Surgeons, they show you every time. Custom Tree Surgeons has built an all-pro team. Every tree service professional has years of experience, continually trained and certified. They know what, when, and how to handle any job. It gets done efficiently and quickly by a team of experts. So for tree trimming, removal, stump grinding, and emergency services, forget any name other than Custom Tree Surgeons. There is no job they can't do better. Go to website CustomTreeSurgeons.com. That's CustomTreeSurgeons.com, and let them show you how the job is supposed to get done.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville. I know Honda, they're so cool on the road and off the road, but guess what? Tell them about them being on the water.
There is an all-new Honda boat coming out. We went out and partnered with Scout, who's been making the finest holes in the business for years. They're fuel-efficient, dynamic, and class-leading.
So Honda is in the boat business, and you will see boats coming to Cycles of Jacksonville soon.
We will have them in the spring, ready to go.
CyclesofJacksonville.com. Keep track of all of it. Find them on Atlantic near Regency.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Stilettos and sabermetrics.
Helmets and heels. Driven by Tire Outlet.
Brought to you by Underwood Jewelers.
And First Coast Lighting and Fans on 1010XL.
Thanks for tuning in to the ladies tonight. We're going to review our impact players that we picked for the divisional round. Taylor, you like to go with players that you could put a jinx on.
Well, I started last week because I was like, I've got to figure something out. But I didn't think about it well enough because I did it for the Packers, but I didn't do it for Kansas City.
That is correct.
I was texting you guys. I was like, dang it, I could have tried to do my curse double.
You did not do a double curse, but I would say your curse or your jinx on Jordan Love, I would say it worked based off of the way
ending.
The game ended. Yeah.
Yeah. He still looked pretty good. There was a few moments where I was like, dang it, they're about to win this game. But he threw 2 interceptions. So that was my jinx voodoo on Jordan Love. Sorry.
Voodoo. I do have a question. With how good Jordan Love looked for the Packers all season long, does it change how Bears fans feel about Justin Fields and Caleb Williams, that whole thing? Like, he looked good right away, and obviously there's work that needs to be done around Fields, but does it change that at all?
I think it's very split in Chicago right now, honestly. Like, I would say it's getting close to 50-50 on what people want to do, whether it's keep Justin or draft Caleb. But I don't think this technically has changed anything because people believe that if Justin Fields was able to sit behind a Hall of Fame quarterback and actually develop in the right way and have a coaching staff that built an offense around him and a coaching staff that called plays for him, just like LaFleur's one of the best play callers in the league this last year. They invested multiple picks in their wide receivers. The Bears just hadn't had the chance to do that in the time that Justin Fields has been there, and he got thrown into the Wolves pretty much immediately. So I think it's a little different. I think Bears fans are more so looking at C.J. Stroud than anything. Like, they're like, you could have had C.J. Stroud if you picked them. And I was like, well, everybody was telling us to draft Bryce Young. Not one person said draft C.J. Stroud over number 1 overall last year. Well, maybe a couple, but like the large majority was that. You. So I think if any Bears fans are looking at any team and player and how quickly they were able to turn things around, it's the Texans, not the Packers, just because the Packers haven't been bad.
Makes sense. And then you also went with Bill's middle linebacker. We weren't sure who that was going to be based off of injuries.
Well, yeah, and then he went down at one point. I texted you guys. I was like, oh, no, I jinxed. I should have picked a Kansas City player, like not to injure, but to like try to do that reverse jinx. But he ended up coming back in. Obviously, that was a good game, and it's Patrick Mahomes, so that's a whole different level. But I think he held his own pretty well. It wasn't like Pacheco had a good game, but it wasn't like the Chiefs were able to run all over the Bills. There were moments like you felt like their defense held their own for a good portion of time. It just came late to being Mahomes doing Mahomes things.
Unfortunately. Mia, you went with Bills running back James Cook.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you feel about that one?
Oh, we're going to start with that one? Okay. I had the stats pulled up for Carlton Davis. We'll start with that one. Hold on.
You can start with Carlton Davis.
I figured that's the easier one to get to. So 7 total tackles. That was good for 3rd on the team. No passes defended. Jamel Dean, the more elite defender, I guess, in the secondary, if you may. He had 3 passes defended against the Lions. But the good news is that if you search on Twitter, Carlton Davis becoming burnt toast, akin to giving up 3 touchdowns against the aforementioned C.J. Stroud earlier this year. That didn't happen, and so you can't 100% put that on a Buccaneers loss like you could in C.J. Stroud's coming out party earlier this year. So good for Carlton Davis. He didn't end up on a poster at the hands of the Detroit Lions' high-powered offense. As far as James Cook goes, I mean, you guys tell me. I'm screaming at the TV, keep running the ball. I felt like at times I was watching the Jaguars. I was like, Joe Brady, this is what got you here. The reason everyone is so high on you and you're having this renaissance is because you said, you know what? We have James Cook, and no one expects the Buffalo Bills to run the ball. We also are one of the only teams in the NFL that has had the same starting 5 offensive linemen, who are pretty darn good the whole season.
Which is a miracle, honestly.
Yeah. Right. Let's lean into that. And it just felt like, I don't know, like you guys tell me, like in the fourth quarter, it just felt like they got away from it. And I understand technically he only had, 3.4 yards per carry. But early on in that game, I mean, they were absolutely gashing a Kansas City Chiefs defense that is, I don't even think arguably, it is the best defense that Andy Reid has had since Patrick Mahomes became the starter in Kansas City. And so, I just look at it and I'm like, man, if they just kept with the run, like at one point they had 8 minutes left and they had 4 straight passing plays.
And that's the thing that I feel like we've noticed from the Bills throughout the season is they abandon the run too early, and they've done that several games this season. And then there's games when like the run is they come out of the gate strong, they're able to go, and obviously Josh Allen is a part of that. But you feel like that it's right from the start, so they stick with it. The moment that it doesn't work for Buffalo, and I don't know the reasoning for that, they pretty much give up on it. They started handing the ball to Ty Johnson a little more.
Who also
than they
looked awesome.
Yeah, and he was actually looking pretty good.
He averaged almost 6 yards a pop, and Josh Allen averaged 6 yards on the ground.
So it's weird, and I can't figure out. I guess they just they felt like since they're playing Kansas City, they were going to have to throw the ball to be able to get more points up on the board.
Well, the Chiefs' cornerbacks had some injuries, so I think they were trying to take advantage of that.
And they probably, I just felt like you're not, you've gone to Arrowhead and been in the ultimate shootout of shootouts where you had 30 seconds to get up and down the field. You had 8 minutes to get down the field, milk the clock to set up that Tyler Bass field goal. And even the drive previous to that, the one where they had the, even if we go back to the fake punt.
Yeah. Which was a terrible decision.
If you just use the clock to your advantage, that has to be considered an extra defender against Patrick Mahomes. Take away a possession from him by running it out.
Well, but I do think we'd be looking at it and talking about it so differently if those deep balls had connected, right? And Josh Allen put them in really good spots. They just didn't catch them. And so, like you mentioned, Diggs on the one. So it's like we would have been praising them for taking those
chances,
those shots downfield, and how they weren't afraid and they didn't just play conservatively. It all gets changed because of a missed field goal, which I saw Tyler Bass. It broke my heart. I saw that he had to delete all of his social media. That part doesn't break my heart. The fact that he felt like he had to because of all the hate and negativity that he was going to receive.
Yeah.
Because I know it's just absolute devastation.
Then did you see the...
They also did still have 170 rushing yards, but
he's
just by the way.
I know, by the way. The animal shelter that he works with, they were even receiving death threats.
Really?
But then all the Bills fans, in order to support him, started donating to the cat shelter where he volunteers, which I thought was really sweet. Bills fans have his back. And I mean, they have been through so much, that fan base. We were just talking about the Lions fan base and everything they've been through. I don't know what's worse, and you could have this argument. Neither side is correct. The Jaguars have been at home for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So you could argue that's worse because you're not even in it.
Yep.
But the heartache that those Bills fans just went through, literally your heart getting ripped out of your chest because your kicker misses, you don't go to overtime. Now, granted, the Chiefs might have won and all that, we'll never know. But the heartache that you go through, and especially if you were, alive and watching that game in 1991 when Scott Norwood misses right.
Yeah.
44 yards away.
Yeah.
Both times.
I don't know what's worse, to not be in it or to literally go through like you went through the double doink. I don't know what's worse.
And another thing of where I'm always and I've asked this on Twitter a few times just to see what people feel about it. But what's worse, what's the worst feeling of, would you rather have like a Super Bowl win? Let's say you win the Super Bowl, but for like the surrounding 10, 15 years, you're not good, but you have a Super Bowl win, or every year you're in the playoffs and make the championship, but you never quite get all the way.
I think it's Super Bowl
One
all
Super
day
Bowl.
long.
And I've had it split
Banners
every time I do
fly
it.
forever.
Yeah.
The
Well, every
parade.
time I do it, because I lean that way,
Right.
but every time I do it, it's a large portion of people that are like, no, I want to win. Like I want to watch good football every year, competitive football, know that we'll be in the playoffs.
Those people have
Nobody-
probably had a Reese's
Super Bowl.
championship. That's why they can answer that
On my
way.
Twitter, no, because it's Bears and Jacksonville.
Well,
so.
Taylor, and this is with all
Could
due
be some
respect,
Packers.
and this is knowing that they've invested a lot this offseason and last offseason, but you could probably tell us with the Chicago Cubs, because the flame that was 2016, 2017 has fizzled out at this point.
But you always have those memories.
We'll always have 2016
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
The absolute pure joy, the euphoria that comes with the championship. There's nothing like that.
And
All right.
if anything, I feel like, sorry to cut you off,
No, you're
but like
good.
if anything, I feel like that group became so iconic that people had this perception that they won multiple titles and that they were so good into the 2020s, which they were not.
Well, it happened so quickly, too, because it was like Chris Bryant, 2015. Next year, they're winning the World Series. And so it was just like, bam, bam, this happened. They had a couple good, and then it fizzled out pretty quickly. And it was like Joe Madden looked like the best coach ever because what he did with the Rays, and then he came to Chicago, and then it just died. And you're like, okay.
But history looks
but
back
there's
on
a World
it
Series.
as if, I mean, at least from like living out there myself and even, just being around other baseball fans here, people look back on it as if it was this like long run.
Yeah.
And it was very much not, but banners fly forever.
Yeah.
That
The
they
W
do.
flag.
Well said.
All right, JJ, you went with, and I'm going to say you might have won the week. You went with Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson and Chiefs defensive tackle Chris Jones.
I didn't think Lamar was very good. He was good on the ground. He did enough to beat a Texans team that just looked happy to be there. But I wasn't impressed. Chris Jones, I don't know if he did anything.
I feel like he's always, didn't he bat a ball down at one point? He's
Yeah.
always at least
Okay.
around it.
He had a forced fumble.
Yeah,
He had a
I thought he
quarterback
played
hit.
pretty well. And Lamar, I mean, you put up 34 points. He's incredible to watch, even if he didn't have his best passing game. I had a big swing and a miss for both of my players. I went with Bills tight end Dalton Kincaid. He was 5 catches for 45 yards, no touchdowns. And I went with Ravens Justin Madubuike, the interior defensive lineman. He had 2 tackles, no sacks. Now, granted, the Ravens didn't need to do a whole lot defensively because the Texans really fizzled out. But yeah, I didn't pick great last week.
I thought too, especially with Dawson Knox only having that 1 catch for 4 yards,
Mhm.
and with Stephon Diggs, just we'll get into it because I don't know exactly what happened there. I mean, I thought you'd see so much more out of Dalton Kincaid, and for what it's worth, when you look at the box score, yes, he had a touchdown, but Khalil Shakir, who it felt like during the game was everywhere, he only had 7 catches for 44 yards, 1 less yard than Kincaid.
Yeah.
I think that maybe targeting Kincaid a little bit more may have changed the complexity of the offense, but I think they were hoping to have a healthy Dawson Knox throughout, and so maybe they were planning on spreading the wealth a little bit more.
I feel like those numbers sometimes when you look at box scores are so deceiving when it comes to what players, because when I was doing my gem of the week this week, I was like, who do I want to do for the Lions? Do I want to put Amon-Ra or do I want Jahmyr Gibbs? And when I was thinking about it, I was like, man, Jahmyr Gibbs for some reason keeps just popping out to being such an impactful player. And when you look at it, he had 74 yards, 1 touchdown. But when you go back and see, especially towards the end of the game, how he was keeping like some of those drives alive, those are the moments that kind of put those guys on the next level. So I ended up picking Gibbs. But it's like you don't look and you're not like, wow, that was an incredible game just by 74 yards. But it was like a large part of why the Lions were able to win was because of what Gibbs was able to do on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Controlling the clock. And especially when the Bucks are idiots and
Yeah.
they go for 2
was
way too
insane.
early and then they don't call the timeout late. I guess that's when a coach is like, yeah, we're done. We are going back to Tampa. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to pick our impact players for the AFC NFC Championship games. JJ, I will start with you.
Let's go with Brock Purdy.
All right. And defensively?
I haven't even thought of one.
Okay.
Skipped.
Taylor.
Okay, offensively, I'm going to try and pull my
Jinx?
my jinx on this double round this time. So I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes. But there are reasonings for this. I think that the Ravens defense, when you go through the numbers of what they've been able to do all season from start to finish, they have the second fewest passing touchdowns allowed, fifth lowest completion percentage, second lowest yards and attempts, tied for second most interceptions. They have the most sacks in the league with 60. That's the recipe to be able to rattle a quarterback at least a little bit, even if it is Patrick Mahomes. So I'm hoping that we're able to see some of that from the Ravens defense. And defensively, defensively, I think I'm going to say, because I have to think of my reverse jinx now. So let's go Nick Bosa.
Okay. You love Nick Bosa, though.
I do love Nick Bosa. I actually want Nick Bosa to have a good game, but and I would be happy, honestly, if either of these teams win, because that's kind of where I am right now. But I just think that he's one of the players that, I guess this one's not a reverse jinx, because I actually want him to be able to stop the Lions a little bit, and I love Nick Bosa. I cheer for him. I also think just the Niners defense has been another one that from start to finish has been able to be pretty consistent. They had that 3-game stretch where you felt like things were falling apart a little bit, and they were able to get it all together really quickly. And this is probably the toughest defense that the Lions will be able to face, and they've been able to run the ball a ton, so you're hoping for some of those things to kind of change up this game.
All right, Mia.
On offense, I will go Deebo Samuel. I know it's 50-50 if he plays or not. I think the Niners offense, as was seen when they went 0-3 when he was on IR earlier this year, as was seen by their struggles in the second half without him this past Saturday, I think they are a completely different team, randomly enough, without their Swiss Army knife, their do-it-all guy in Deebo Samuel. And on defense, I'm going to go with Nick Bolton of the Kansas City Chiefs. He was the spy against Josh Allen on Sunday night. I would expect more of the same against Lamar. He also led the Chiefs in tackles with 13.
All right. I will go with 2 49ers players because something tells me that this game is going to get ugly. I'm going to say Brandon Ayuk. And yes, I understand the stars are Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. But without Brandon Ayuk and without Jawan Jennings, I don't think the 49ers win that game the way that they made some catches this past weekend against the Packers. So I'm going to say wide receiver Brandon Ayuk for the 49ers, and then I'm going to say linebacker Fred Warner because I do think that Jahmyr Gibbs, like you mentioned, Taylor, is a really talented back, and the Lions want to run the ball all over the 49ers, and Fred Warner is a really talented linebacker.
Not the all-pro Chris Conley? Come on now.
It was fun to see him have a catch.
Had 3 catches coming into the year and had 3 critical catches on Saturday night.
I honestly forgot he was there.
I did too.
It said his name at first. I was like, is that Chris?
Yeah, I was like, is that the same Chris who liked to surf?
And
makes
Star
sense
Wars,
now.
And we have the same birthday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, October 25th, 92. Born the same day.
Okay. I have the same birthday as Doug Marone, slightly different year.
Okay.
All right. Those are going to be our impact
Thanks for
players.
clarifying.
Yeah,
At
slightly
first I was
different.
like, wait, hold on.
He is older. I can confirm. Taylor will take us around the NFL. When we come back, you are listening to Helmets and Heels, driven by Tower Outlet on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
That goes to whoever gets closest to the actual retail price without going over. John, we're going to start with you. Go ahead.
1010, Drew. The price is 1010XL, and it's always right.
Buying a car can be stressful, especially one sold as is or with no warranty. Do the 7-10 or 30-day warranties leave you wondering what will happen on day 31?
Stop. Car buying doesn't need to be so stressful. Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet now offer the exclusive Beaver Certified program protecting your used car for 7 years or 100,000 miles. That's right, certified Hondas, Fords, Nissans, and any other make you consider now come with the peace of mind you deserve. Shop worry-free at Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Care you can see.
JEA is dedicated to keeping your utility costs down, so we offer programs and solutions to help you use less and save more. From simple and easy tips that reduce usage to free in-home efficiency assessments that show you ways to be more energy and water efficient, and efficiency rebates that help you save on appliance upgrades. Because as your community-owned, not-for-profit utility, we're here to serve you, and only you. To learn more, visit JEA.com.
At Darley's Plumbing, we fix it all. Drips, leaks, running toilets, sewer lines. You name it. If it's plumbing you need, just remember the Darley's name. Plus, we have 24-hour emergency service. So we'll be there when you need us. Darley's Plumbing, where quality counts.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
This is Keith Catlin for Catlin Truck Accessories, and we are so blessed to be in business for over 100 years. Over 100 years of the best product and customer service means you can count on Catlin. From roll and lock bed covers to Lear toppers to cam locker toolboxes, Catlin Truck Accessories has you covered when it comes to your truck or van. We do those too. Got a fleet of vehicles? We can outfit them all.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
One name, one location, 100 years. You can count on Catlin.
Wintertime at the Blue Crab House. You know what that means. Time for oysters. Buy them by the tray, broiled, half shell with Romano cheese, wine topping, or fried. And of course, each and every Wednesday, $1 oysters at the Blue Crab House. Serving Northeast Florida since 1996. Make reservations by calling 260-CRAB. Jacksonville's best, the Blue Crab House, off of San Jose on Jewington Creek Road.
PRI Productions is the official game day production partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hi, I'm Randy Goodwin, president and owner of PRI Productions. Chances are, if you've been in Jacksonville over the last 30 years, you've seen our work, from corporate and social events to concert production and much more. We have the equipment and expertise to make your next event memorable. So call the experts at the Jaguars Call. PRI Productions, bringing your ideas to life.
When you roll into a convenience store for some cold Bud Light, you want to make sure it's, well, cold. Check out the big coolers at Circle K. They make sure it's chilled and ready to go for the big game or party. Swing by Circle K and pick up some cold Bud Light.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and I've declared 2024 to be my year. The year I put more life back in my life. You know how I'm doing it? By taking off the weight with Awaken 180 weight loss. 35 pounds gone, and I did it during the toughest time of the year. There's no excuse in January. This is the easiest time of the year for weight loss. Resolutions, gearing up for our year, knowing we can do it with the right support. Awaken 180 isn't just the support, it's the roadmap and solution to help you accomplish what no other program has been able to do for you before. I'm dropping 4 to 5 pounds a week, over 35 pounds gone now, and haven't taken a drop, a pill, a spoonful of medications. I'm eating to lose weight, and honestly, having fun along the way. Make 2024 your year and do what Mike Dempsey did and what I'm doing, and what over 21,000 others have done. Choose the solution for weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. Call 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
There are 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and if you stay in your home long enough, a new roof. Pick it here for our friends at Lockhart Roofing. Nobody better in Jacksonville. How do I know? They are a local certified Master Elite contractor, and that means they have a GAF Master Elite warranty. That's the best in the roofing industry. In this day and age, don't settle for cheaper discount roofers. Lockhart Roofing has been here for decades. They aren't going anywhere. Call my friends at Lockhart Roofing, 994-3851. That's 994-3851. Lockhart Roofing, Jacksonville's best for Jacksonville people.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Stilettos and sabermetrics.
Helmets and heels. Driven by Tire Outlet.
Brought to you by Underwood Jewelers.
And First Coast Lighting and Fans on 1010XL.
Mio, Brian, Taylor, Dahl, JJ Silva. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this Tuesday night. Well, Taylor, yes. And then there were 4. There's only 4 teams left standing, but what else is going on in the NFL?
Well, we have a lot, and I think that a lot of what I'm about to talk about first kind of goes back to one of the teams that got knocked out this last weekend in the Buffalo Bills. And this is a team that has a lot of talent on the team, and I think that the last few years, a lot of people, obviously, Josh Allen put at the top of all the quarterback rankings, and the team in general position groups also very high in a lot of the rankings around the league. But for some reason, and that reason seems to be the Kansas City Chiefs, but even beyond that, when you're looking at the Buffalo Bills, once they get to the playoffs, they just have something to where it just hasn't all been able to quite click for them. And so one of the things that I saw floating around this last weekend was, and Mia kind of briefly mentioned it earlier, about the comparison to the Bills to the Chargers, the 06 to 09, 010-ish Chargers. And it was interesting because, for example, here's the numbers when you go and look at that. So the 06 to 09 Chargers were 46 and 18. The Bills right now 48 and 18. The playoff win-loss 3 and 4 for the Chargers, 5 and 4 for the Bills. Division titles 4 for the Chargers, 4 for the Bills. Points per game 28 for the Chargers, 28 for the Bills. Opponents points per game 19 for the Chargers, 19 for the Bills. And then it goes on to even more like division opponents, strength of schedule, all of that. And it was like very similar all the way down from top to bottom, in addition to people comparing Josh Allen's stats to Phillip Rivers' stats during that period of time, also very similar. So my question for you guys, because this is the number that I saw, is he's Josh Allen 5-5 in the playoffs, but the 5 quarterbacks that he's beat in the playoffs that he has won against, Phillip Rivers in his last season in the NFL, so his exit from the NFL, he beat Phillip Rivers. He beat injured Lamar Jackson. It was the game that Lamar Jackson ended up exiting because he got hurt in the playoffs. The other ones are Mac Jones, Skylar Thompson, and Mason Rudolph. So a lot of people over the weekend were kind of discrediting Josh Allen and what he's able to do in the postseason because his wins haven't been against good quarterbacks and good opponents when it comes to. Granted, we also have to take into note that the quarterback's not playing the quarterback. So that's one thing, but it's also one of the situations where it's just kind of like, is this the Bills that next Chargers team?
So to me, Josh Allen does everything possible for his team to win. Yes, he turns the ball over some and too much for most people's liking, but Peyton Manning turned the ball over a lot in the beginning of his career too and went on to win championships. I think Josh Allen's going to win championships, and I understand the Chiefs are in the way they have been the last 3 out of 4 years. But at some point, I think they're going to break through. I think he is incredibly talented. He's super tough. I don't think that it's Josh Allen holding the Bills back, and that's the reason that they're not winning. I think it's a fact, like you said, it's a factor of a lot of different things. And if Tyler Bass makes that kick, what are we talking about now? Do the Bills end up winning that game? It was obviously in Orchard Park, not an Arrowhead. I think he's great, and maybe that's because I like his style of football. Yeah. But I also think, like, besides, this year, they haven't really been able to run the ball, and so he's been the primary runner, and he's been able to do that in addition to playing quarterback.
I can't.
Yeah, are they going to get a championship?
No, I don't think they are. I think they are the Chargers because Patrick Mahomes is not going anywhere, and this was as good an opportunity as they had. They had home field advantage. They had arguably the weakest group of skill players that Patrick Mahomes has played with. They had arguably his weakest offensive line. Yes, it was the best defense, but they had them on the ropes. They were able to run the ball early. I don't even go back to the Tyler Bass kick. Let's address it. Stephon Diggs.
Got to catch it.
Dog. Yeah. Hit you right here, went right through the breadbasket. If you are this top 5 wide receiver, I'll say the same thing to you that I said about Calvin Ridley. If you're really a top 5 wide receiver, you need to make that play.
Yeah.
It's that simple. That was the play that I go back to, that is where I went, oh, no, this is about to slip away from them. And I don't know if they'll be set up with an opportunity quite like they had this weekend, facing the Chiefs, the Ravens, heaven forbid, the Texans, or I don't know, the Jaguars get good.
The Bengals.
The Bengals. Joe Burrow's going to be back next year. Like, and that's what, the Tom Brady greatness that we so love to talk about, and now comparing it to Patrick Mahomes, what we don't talk about is that his greatness prevented guys like Peyton Manning, guys like Ben Roethlisberger, guys like Phillip Rivers. You can go right down the line. How many great AFC quarterbacks that we look back and say, dang, he was really good, never made a Super Bowl or never made as many Super Bowls as they probably could have if Tom Brady wasn't standing in the way. That is the territory we are approaching with Patrick Mahomes.
Are we going to find a Eli Manning to Patrick Mahomes?
Oh, my God.
Could be Brock Purdy.
Honestly,
Brock Purdy's a good quarterback, don't get me wrong. And not that Eli was terrible by any means. I think Eli and his teams got a little lucky, but overall, yeah, it's different though in the NFC because as long as you can get to the Super Bowl, then certainly anything can happen.
It's the same thing. It's literally like history is repeating itself.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting. When I saw those numbers, I was like, man, like this is something. And I love Josh Allen. I think he's probably one of my, I would say, top 3 favorite quarterbacks in the league. And that is personality off the field, on the field, how he plays. Like you said, Lauren, I love his playing style. So I definitely think he's up there. But it is hard when you have to go against the best. Like if he was in the NFC, imagine that every year, us having a Bills-Chiefs Super Bowl every single year.
So let's go down the line of the Tom Brady era. Let's go through who made the Super Bowl, who was the quarterback on the NFC side. His first Super Bowl over the Rams, Kurt Warner, Hall of Famer, greatest show on turf. The next year, New England wasn't in it. That was the Tampa Raiders Super Bowl. Brad Johnson against Rich Gannon. Interesting, happens. The next 2 Super Bowls, of course, New England won, including one here in Jacksonville. Jake Delhomme was the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. And then Donovan McNabb, who obviously went on to have a great career. Out of the NFC the next few years, Seattle, this was in 2006. This is pre-Russell Wilson, folks. Your Chicago Bears, Taylor, who was the quarterback? Rex Grossman.
Sexy Rexy.
Eli Manning against Tom Brady in 2008. Arizona in 2009. Kurt Warner again, future Hall of Famer. New Orleans in 2010. Drew Brees. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers. The Giants again. Colin Kaepernick and the San Francisco 49ers. Go ahead.
That was Flacco.
Right.
Flacco, Kaepernick.
Right. You have one of those every few years. Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks ×2. The Carolina Panthers and Cam Newton. The Atlanta Falcons and Matt Ryan. Like, compared to it being Peyton, Brady.
Roethlisberger mixed in
Peyton.
there.
Joe Flacco. Peyton, Roethlisberger, Peyton, Tom Brady, and so like that, you go down the line and like
that's what we're gonna see.
We're entering that territory again, and that's why like Nick Wright made the point. He thinks that Joe Burrow is the Roethlisberger. He's gonna win a couple Super Bowls. He's gonna make a couple, but then he's gonna have some weird, quirky years where they get bounced in the first round or don't even make the playoffs, but they have a winning record.
Yeah,
and it's playing into that. But then he said he believes that Mahomes is Peyton and Brady combined. I don't know about that.
What you want, if you're a Bills fan, is for the Chiefs to get someone else before you ever face them. That's what you're hoping. Is that
yeah.
Like
Someone
for instance, the Ravens take out the Chiefs,
Right.
and then you take on, and then
Correct.
the behemoth that has been torturing you is
gone.
gone.
Some weird thing happens, and they get knocked out in the wild card round, and you don't even have to worry.
That's
about
what you're hoping,
it.
or the divisional round. Either way, like you do not want to be the team that has to face them in the playoffs because that's what it's gotten to.
Speaking of the playoffs, let's look at some of this. They have some fun facts, I guess.
I love fun facts.
Fun facts.
Can we bet on these? Can we do prop bets on these?
Prop bets of the fun facts of this weekend and the championship weekend for the NFL. So the first one says passing the torch, and this is something we're kind of talking about. Either Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes has started a conference championship game in each of the last 13 postseasons. Brady made the conference title game in 8 straight seasons from 2011 to 2018. Mahomes' 6-year streak overlapped with Brady in 18. Those are the 2 longest streaks in QBs in NFL history. Mahomes has made this round in every season as a full starter.
Yeah, so that's why some people are starting to think, to me, his point, that Mahomes could end up being better than Brady because he's already done it 6 straight times.
Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit, but who in the AFC could you see possibly ending that for the Chiefs? Because she says it probably won't be the Bills. Do you see Cincinnati being able to be that team?
I don't know. I think it could be Baltimore because of the defense that they have. And, I mean, obviously Lamar's super dynamic as well on the offensive side, but I think at the end of the day, if you want to beat the best, your defense has to come up huge. And so that's where this weekend, I mean, I feel like I'm counting down that. You never want to wish your life away, but I feel like I'm just counting down the hours until we can get to the football on Sunday.
I know.
That's why we have college basketball, by the way, Lauren.
Speaking of that, Florida State is playing at Syracuse right now. Syracuse, it's very early, but Syracuse leads 6-2. Speaking of college basketball.
Yeah, they beat Miami on a buzzer beater at the Carrier Dome on Saturday.
Oh.
Speaking of best of the best, Lamar Jackson, he'll win the NFL MVP. He's just had that kind of season. Patrick Mahomes won last year, matching their matchup is the third between the last two MVP quarterbacks in playoff history. So Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Brett Favre, Steve Young were the ones previous to that. So my question for you is more on the Lamar side. Does this, whether he wins or loses, finally give him just that stamp of, yes, Lamar Jackson is a franchise and elite quarterback?
Yes, we need it. I mean, JJ said it last week. This past weekend could have been a legacy game for Lamar if he had lost. This one definitely is. How often have Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson played each other? I want to see that.
I think Patrick Mahomes has played the Ravens 4 times. I don't know if Lamar played all 4 times.
That's what
Mahomes' numbers are insane. I know the 4 times that he's played, like over 300 yards every single time and multiple touchdowns.
So 2021, that was a 1-point victory for the Ravens, and that was in Baltimore. And I would assume Lamar played because he usually gets hurt at the end of the year.
Yeah.
September of 2020, granted that was the COVID year, that was a Chiefs victory. 2019, which would have been both of them, that was a Chiefs victory at Arrowhead, and yeah, that would have been the last time. Or maybe, no, yeah, because Mahomes wasn't starting in 2018, right? Or no, he was.
He was.
Yeah, okay, so then that was also
Yeah, he's
Mahomes.
played 4 times
Yeah.
against the Ravens,
Right.
and they've all gone very well for the Chiefs, because what doesn't go well for the Chiefs?
No.
For crying out loud.
I know. One more.
Yep.
And we were talking about this one a little bit. So it says, if you ain't first, you're last. And it's talking about Jared Goff, first overall pick in 2016 against Brock Purdy, 262nd overall pick in 2022. It's the first playoff matchup in NFL history between quarterbacks drafted first and last in the round. So my question on this one is, what do you think would be the bigger Super Bowl storyline? And let's take the Lions' history out of this, just specifically talking about quarterbacks. The last draft pick versus the having that last draft pick making it year 2 of his career, or the Jared Goff versus Matthew Stafford swap and both of them getting a Super Bowl out of it if they were to win.
To me, I think it's Jared Goff because he was pretty much discarded by the Rams to go to Detroit and lost all of his confidence. Like, Brock Purdy is surrounded by so much talent. I mean, it's great what he's done, don't get me wrong. But I feel like Jared Goff has kind of risen from the ashes. And if you've ever, I feel like, been, in a relationship where the person just completely walked away, like, and traded up for someone else, like, you understand how it must have felt to be Jared Goff and have the whole world, kind of, or at least the country, kind of laugh at you.
Yeah.
I can't help but feel like with all the steps that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and the Lions have taken, would they be very happy to win the Super Bowl and make the Super Bowl this year? Absolutely. But I don't think they'll be disappointed if they lose either. Like, I feel like they would say, you know what, this was the next step. This was the goal. Next year is Super Bowl, which I'm not sure that's a way to live, but that's just the vibe I get.
Interesting.
It was never their thought of like, okay, in 4 years' time, we're winning the Super Bowl. It was tear it all down, be competitive enough, then make the playoffs. And then it's you establish some sort of dominance. They still have so many young players. We have talked pretty at length about those 4 first, second-round picks, and that's not including Hendon Hooker, who they took at their 5th draft pick. Between Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, how much contribution they've gotten from those 4, they're all rookies. You still got 3 to 4 more years of their rookie deals, and so you are entering that window now, and that was always the goal.
There you have it. What do you think, by the way?
Yeah, I think that both are cool stories, but I do agree that I think, to me, here, that just the whole storyline of you flop quarterbacks, one is just kind of discarded, but then also it's one of the few full-on win-win scenarios you'll see of a trade, I feel like, if they were to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Brock Purdy, if he and the 49ers make the Super Bowl, you're going to hear that ad nauseum, trust me. That he is Mr. Irrelevant. People who've never heard of what Mr. Irrelevant is, that don't pay attention to sports, they're going to learn it, like I said, if they make the Super Bowl. All right, we've got our highlights when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels, driven by Tire Outlet on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
1010XL takes you behind the microphone.
Do you think I understand a word you say?
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
Get these cuffs off. Leave the cuffs on. Right now. Get them off. Leave them on!
Oh, boy. The Drill.
So I guess that makes us partners.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to carlsondentalgroup.com. That's carlsondentalgroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Our slogan, Know Before You Blow, applies to more than just DUI cases. Hi, I'm attorney Lee Lockett of Lockett Law. Battery charges can result in jail time and criminal convictions too, so know before you blow a gasket and hit a loved one or a stranger. Drug crimes like possession of marijuana and cocaine will land you in cuffs too, so know before you blow. In a boating under the influence case, you also have the option to blow or not to blow. So know your options. Know before you blow. Go to knowbeforeyouBlow.com now. Offices Jacksonville.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. By now, everyone has heard about saving money on their energy bills. There are all sorts of things you can do to cut energy costs, but most people don't think about their windows.
But Window World knows that the biggest energy loss in almost every home is the windows. There is more energy loss from old builder-grade windows than just about anything else in your home.
You can upgrade your heating and air, your appliances, that's good too. But before you do all that, upgrade your windows to Window World's energy-efficient windows.
Window World's windows are easy to clean, energy efficient, and have the best guarantee in the business.
Window World's slogan is simply the best for less, and we mean it. You get great American-made windows, and you get to keep more of your money when you buy from Window World. Need any more reasons to buy your windows from Window World? Call them today and set up your free in-home estimate, or go online to windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World,
simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
I love to listen to XL Primetime, but it's on while I'm at work.
You can't listen all day, every day, but you can catch what you missed.
Good thing I can listen on demand.
Go on demand at 1010XL.com.
Brought to you by Underdog Fantasy.
Shen Yun shows are coming January 30th to 31st to Jacksonville Center for the Performing Arts. Shen Yun revives 5,000 years of civilization through choreographed dance, with music combining classical Western and Chinese instruments and dynamic 3D backdrop. Come see it at least once in your lifetime. January 30th through 31st. Tickets at shenyun.com/FL.
I-9 Sports. Kids all over the First Coast can enjoy growing up on a field or in a gym. Right now, winter and spring registration is open, so make sure you find out what I-9 Sports offers in your area. Duval, Clay, and St. John's. I9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code for a discount.
Hey, this is Bert Cannon with the First Coast YMCA. Youth sports at the Y can help nurture your future athlete's potential and experience the joy of being a kid. At the Y, we're providing a safe, clean, and fun environment with basketball, soccer, volleyball, gymnastics, elite skills training, and more. Best of all, participation in Legacy Youth Sports League is free with your family membership. Visit fcymca.org to learn all about youth sports at the Y.
Rhino Shield. Stop paying for paint that doesn't protect. Permanently protect your home with our exclusive ceramic-based coating. Say goodbye to mold, mildew, and algae, and enjoy decades of defense against chipping, cracking, and peeling. Beautifully durable colors on any surface, all backed by our 25-year transferable warranty. Shield now and pay later with 0% financing. Request your free quote today at rhinoshieldjax.com. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web, precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At SportsForecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. SportsForecaster.com. Sign up for free today.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your Locals Dailies Dash today to get your delicious Duval sub. Dailies is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
If your resolution is to improve your golf game, you'll want to consider Hidden Hills Golf Club's annual range membership. One low price gives you 12 months of unlimited access to our Bermuda Grass complex. Visit hiddenhillsgc.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Helmets and Heels.
On 1010XL, driven by Tire Outlet.
Brought to you by Underwood Jewelers.
And First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Welcome back to this edition of Helmets and Heels. Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, JJ Silva. I am Lauren Brooks. By the way, this has nothing to do with our highlights, which are about to come up. But I went to the Nocatee Farmers Market this past weekend, and it was lovely.
Oh, yeah.
So I highly recommend. It happens I think it's the third Saturday of every month. You can find out more information online. But if you like that sort of thing, then highly recommend it. Lots of local vendors. There was live music by a local country band called Cumberland. That's the main reason I wanted to go. But they definitely had local hot sauces and vinegar sauces and peppers, and they had some produce. Obviously, that's going to happen a little bit more often when the weather's a little nicer. But yeah, a lot of good stuff. And so, like I said, just enjoyed it, even though, by the way, it was very, very, very cold. And I am the dumb person who brought gloves with me and then left them in the car because I was like, I don't need them. It's warm enough. I'm tough. And then the moment I started walking around, I was like, why didn't I get my gloves out of the car? That was, like I said, very dumb. But either way, it was a lot of fun. It's that kind of stuff that I feel like you get to do when football doesn't start till a little bit later.
You took the words out of my mouth, Lauren. These are the things, once football is over, that you can do with your lives. There are other things going on. Who would have thunk?
Exactly. All right, time now for this week's highlights.
Lamar Jackson to Isaiah likely extends the Ravens' lead to 24-17.
Corners for this Texans defense. Now 2nd and 1. Jackson, end zone, likely for the touchdown. A 15-yard touchdown throw from Lamar Jackson. Ravens up 14.
Brock Purdy leads a game-winning drive against the Packers, going 69 yards in 5 minutes to head to the NFC Championship.
Purdy in some trouble. Got room to run if he wants it. He's going to take it. Purdy inside the 10 and diving near the 6. They're going to put him down at the 5 and right near a first down. McCaffrey scores! 49ers in front!
Number 16 Utah ties it up to force overtime, and eventually defeat number 2 UCLA.
By UCLA! Down in the far corner. Switch everything. They're going to get it to Vieira. She'll drive. And she'll score to tie it up. Osborne, the heave to win it.
There you have it. I, this week, went with Lamar Jackson to Isaiah Likely, and the reason was because, and I'm sure y'all saw this as you were watching the game, earlier in the first half, Lamar Jackson goes to throw it to Likely, but it's not caught. I'll say it like that. It wasn't a great pass. And Isaiah told him, throw it higher. And then the next time around, when he goes to throw it to him, he threw it nice and high. And as a watching from just a Jaguars perspective, it's like, wait a minute, it's that simple. Yeah. And also I read Peter. Yeah, just put it there. Like and that was in front of everybody too. Like that happened. That wasn't behind closed doors. And I also read Peter King's Football Morning in America, and he said that Lamar Jackson at halftime went to Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, and said, we need to stop with the long developing routes because the Texans are blitzing more than they normally do. So we've got to have a little bit shorter of routes. I got to get the ball out faster. He did, I think, almost a second faster, if not more than that, in the second half. And obviously you saw what happened. They went on a 24-0 scoring run. It's that type of stuff that you get to see Lamar Jackson's evolution. Yeah. And Isaiah Likely hasn't been around that long, and yet he's able to tell this superstar MVP quarterback where to go with the ball. Like, that's the kind of chemistry that we need between Trevor Lawrence and the wide receivers / tight ends here in Jacksonville.
I was just about to say, when you have somebody like Mark Andrews, who is one of the best tight ends in the league, go down, usually you see a drastic change. And to have someone like Isaiah Likely to just come in and almost like click immediately with Lamar, and you saw it obviously it got a little bit stronger throughout the season, but there was just so many moments where when you're watching them, that play specifically, when you go and the way he reaches over, number one, the communication on that play, you could tell was exactly where it needed to be, because Lamar put it where he wanted it. Likely knew exactly what to do with the ball, how to turn, how to catch over the guy's head. And if you want to go see the play, obviously go watch it. But it's one of those situations where when you talk about connection, when you talk about finding talent, and being able to develop talent, all of these things are what we're seeing the Ravens do right now, and they've been criticized so much the last few years that it's fun to watch them actually all of this pan out for them, because it's just been, I feel like, such a stretch of time where you're like, man, like they've done everything they've needed to do, and it's just kept falling short, and then now it's finally kind of all pieced together this year as like a final little touch.
By the way, I was going through some old documents on my computer earlier, and I found in 2018 we had to do videos, and we had to name the top 5 players we'd like to see the Jaguars draft.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't all have to be one position by any means, but my top 5 players were Lamar Jackson, Christian Kirk, Hayden Hurst, Mike McGlinchey, the tackle, and Will Hernandez, the guard. Now, again, you couldn't have had all of them.
4 for 5,
but
3 for 5, depending who you ask.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, I mean, if we had just drafted in 2018
One
Lamar
of those.
Jackson and Christian Kirk, because you could have gotten
Or
them
even
first
one of
round,
those.
second round, I mean, come on, man. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Taylor, you went with Brock Purdy?
Yes. Well, I guess that whole final drive, the Niners drive that put them up, obviously, it was fun. And it's just one of the things to me that we talk a lot about. Brock Purdy is also one of the ones that has had a lot of criticism of how much is his surroundings, how much is Brock. I'm seeing both sides of it when you see a lot of the guys break down the quarterback film. But there's no denying that in the moment at the end of the game when he needed to get down the field and score a touchdown, he was able to do it. And they did it in multiple ways. He threw the ball, they ran the ball, he ran the ball, he had to scramble a little bit and got a first down on one end. You saw Christian McCaffrey do what Christian McCaffrey is just able to do, which is just when you look at Carolina, you're like, what in the world? How would you ever let Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore go?
Seriously.
But it's just one of those things where you look at Kyle Shanahan, and that's why I tweeted, I think, on Sunday, where I was like, can I, screw getting a new quarterback in Chicago? Can we just get a Kyle Shanahan? Because just the things he does, and that wasn't even probably his best coached game. There were some things there where you could kind of question his choices, but it's still, when it comes down to it, they're able to do it, and it's against a hot Packers team who was playing good on both sides of the ball, and it was fun to watch everything kind of develop towards the end, especially being a Bears fan.
Did you think the San Francisco contingent's reflection of that final drive, in which at least one beat reporter compared it to Joe Montana? Did you think that was justified?
No, I would not say that.
'Cause that is
I'm not there.
very much a thing that happened.
Yeah, I'm not there. I think that I think that Brock did what Brock needed to do at the end. There were some bad throws during the game where I was
he
like,
should have been picked off several times.
Yes. There were several where I was like, man, that was not pretty. But when he needed to do it, when it counted the most, he was able to. So
That he was. You're right about that. And plus, you just wanted to see the Packers
Yeah.
lose. So
Yeah.
to you, it didn't matter how it happened as long as they won. And Mia, you went with Utah women's basketball?
Yes, I did. And I'm rocking the Utah home field apparel right now, too. A big win for the Lady Utes. It's been awesome. Look, I understand my affinity for Iowa. We get that out of the way. But it's been awesome to see so many other corners of the country get behind women's college basketball, especially over the last 2-3 years. Utah is a place that I don't think traditionally you would think, oh, that's a women's basketball powerhouse. But what Lynn Roberts has built out there, they had a sold-out crowd last night against number 2 UCLA, who, by the way, has come a far cry from even their consistent, making the round of 32, making the Sweet 16 here and there that they were for the bulk of the 2000s, to now being a powerhouse top 10 team this year. And so it was a great game, came down to the wire. Utah led up until the final minute, and UCLA goes up by 3 or 4. Credit to the Utes. They hung in there. I think the biggest challenge for them was that Alyssa Peely is their All-American center. She's an undersized Samoan. She's awesome. She did not have it going last night. 4 of 15 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3. She did make all 8 free throws, though, but 16 points. Half of them were free throws, not exactly what you want. And so they couldn't really flow the offense through her. Their three-point shooting was lights out. They had 10 threes within, like, the first minute of the second half. And so they hung in there, and in the final minute, that play that you heard was a beautifully drawn-up roll-around basket. And, and then they went on to win in overtime. And good to see a team that I semi-root for win in overtime in a ranked matchup, because that did not happen on Sunday for Lisa Bluder's Iowa Hawkeyes.
Did you watch that women's basketball game, Iowa versus Ohio State, since it was on?
I didn't watch it.
Okay, so it was supposed to be Football Night in America on NBC, and the game went to overtime.
Oh.
So a lot of people who were waiting for football ended up watching it. I was one of those people like, I'll watch this until it comes on. And it was, what's the Ohio State girl's name?
Oh, McMahon.
Yeah,
she's a sophomore. She's really, really good.
She's so good. Like, that's what I took away from the game. I obviously already knew who Caitlin Clark was, but I was like, I've never heard of this person, and she is, I shouldn't have said girl, I guess woman, because she is a beast, and she was super talented in that game. I think she finished with over 30.
Yeah, she had 33 and 12. And honestly, most of it came in the second half. They contained her. Ohio State was in foul trouble much of the first half, much of the second half too. But she was the one player who kind of avoided it for the most part and then made shots when it mattered most. I mean, Ohio State was like not making shots until the fourth quarter. That's what was so incredible. Iowa had a 10-point lead with 5 minutes to play. And Ohio State from that point forth, I know multiple people tweeted it. They were like, have they missed a shot in the second half of the fourth quarter? Because I'm not sure they did. Credit to them. Again, another program that I think after Kelsey Mitchell, who's the NCAA's second all-time leading scorer, graduated in 2018, I think that they were still good, but they maybe didn't have that marquee player. I'm not sure they do, but maybe they do in McMahon. And so, again, good to see that they're getting back because, like, and I've said this before on the program, like, when I was covering Iowa, like that 2015 to 2018 stretch, which was when Kelsey Mitchell was at Ohio State, it was literally Ohio State, Maryland, maybe Iowa, and everybody else in the Big Ten. And Iowa was like not even like a perennially like NCAA tournament team at that point. Like they had made the Sweet 16 in 2015. They made 2 WNITs and 2 tournaments in which they only got to the first round, the 3 years, that I was there. And so it wasn't like the Big Ten had so much parity. And now it's like arguably the best conference in college basketball, in women's college basketball, maybe regular college basketball, men's men. Men's college basketball. Actually, no, it's not. But yes, sorry to the SEC homers out there.
Can I ask you, because I see on the AP rankings for the women, so Ohio State moved up 6 spots because of that win. Do you expect them to keep hanging up / climbing, or do you think that was like a one-off for them to beat a team like Iowa the way they did?
It was funny because when the game tipped off, I said to my mom too, because my parents were watching the game, we were texting during it, like I said, this was like one game that like Iowa hadn't lost since November 16th. I was like, if there's a game that they can afford to lose, it's on the road, hostile environment, 18,000 people at Value City Arena, top 25 team, up-and-coming squad. Like, I was like, you know what? If they lose this one, it's fine. It's whatever. In terms of Ohio State, obviously, you know, they've got some momentum now. I believe this was their 6th straight win. And so they have some momentum building. They'll travel to Illinois and Purdue, who are both kind of middle, and Wisconsin after that. Oh, boy. Cellar dweller. So they've got 3 winnable games coming up. Then they host Indiana, which is huge. I think that was a big thing Sunday was they hosted. All of Iowa's ranked matchups up to this point, they have hosted. So I think that home field, home court advantage is critical. But they'll have some tough tests. I mean, Michigan State and Penn State have kind of turned it around this year. Nebraska's no slouch. They host Maryland, which helps. And then they finish the season by traveling to Iowa City. And, I would think revenge will be on the minds of many.
In girls basketball here in Duval, we had a big matchup tonight between Bishop Kinney and Mandarin.
Ooh.
I'll have you know, Taylor Dahl, my alma mater beat your alma mater 56-18. Now, Bishop Kinney girls basketball is really good. We all know that. I don't know about Mandarin, but I just had to bring that up.
Pay your players.
Yes, we pay them a lot. I'm part of the Bishop Kinney NIL. All right, we've got one segment to go here on Helmets and Heels, driven by Tire Outlet on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Catch Gators basketball on 1010XL.
After 2 on the road, the Gators unpack against Mississippi State. Tomorrow night at 8:30 on 1010 AM.
Baloo for Shinatri Chiropractic. They've helped me get rid of my headaches and pain in my neck and back.
Are you suffering from an auto accident? What about TMJ pain? Headaches associated with jaw clenching, grinding of the teeth, or stress-related disorders? Shinatri Chiropractic has a physical therapist on staff for rehabilitation, quality chiropractic care, dry needling, massage, and acupuncture. Call 743-6700 or go to shinatridc.com.
Cold out there now? You want it warm and cozy inside, but is your home heating system safe to use regularly? Let Bold City Heating and Air perform a winter system checkup now for only $49. The Bold City team will optimize and revitalize your heating system so it's running safe and at peak efficiency. Don't waste hundreds by running your system poorly. Schedule a winter system checkup with BoldCityAC.com. Just $49 for peace of mind. Visit BoldCityAC.com.
Is your house exterior due for a wash? First Coast Home Pros has thousands of 5-star reviews for a reason. They get amazing results on even the toughest pressure washing jobs. Schedule now at firstcoasthomepros.com.
Cooking with Prisco.
These things are wonderful. You're going to love it. Have a roll.
Catch CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco every Friday afternoon on The Franchi Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL.
Hey folks, Hicken here. Now that your kids and grandkids have gone home and the decorations are coming down, I bet you can see it's time to get those carpets and sofas clean. I'm telling you, give Zero Res a try if you haven't already. They clean the carpet, the sofa, the chairs, the area rugs, and even the tile and grout. Google them. More than 5,000 5-star customer reviews. And right now, 20% off carpet cleanings, 20% off upholstery. Zero Res. You spell it forward, you spell it backwards. Zero Res is the right way to clean.
Zero Res. Are you looking for increased privacy and protection for your family and pets? Look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Superior Fence and Rail is Jacksonville's top-rated fence company, delivering the highest quality fence products. They'll treat your property as if it's their own. So get off the fence and get your privacy back. Call Superior Fence and Rail today for your on-site estimates.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Exciting news from Leonard Truck Accessories in Jacksonville on Blanding Boulevard. Stocking brands like Real Truck, UWS, WeatherGuard, Carry-On Trailers, and more. Grand opening on February 2nd at noon with tons of prizes to win, like a brand new golf cart. Leonard, your truck, your style.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe, and this month I want to talk to you about welcoming the winds of change in your life. But so often, when we see the winds of change coming our way, our immediate response is to fight it. Friends, when you see things in your life changing, when the winds of change are coming your way, don't fight it, but embrace it. Recognize that God is stirring you up so that you too can soar like an eagle.
For more inspiration, log on to stjohnthedivine.com.
Some days, my active psoriatic arthritis makes it hard to get in the game. Now, the ball is in my court, thanks to treating my skin and joints with Skyrizi, Risankizumab Risa, a prescription-only 150-milligram injection for adults. Skyrizi helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi and visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Lower mortgage rates are here, and smart homeowners are wiping out all their credit card debt with help from Loan Pronto. Hey, Prosser here. Right now, Loan Pronto has a cash-out refinance rate of just 5.49%. You heard me. That's a huge drop. So you can get refinanced now, get cash out of your home's equity to wipe out all those credit cards and other high-interest loans. You can save hundreds every month with lower payments. Or, if you still have a mortgage rate in the 3s, you can use Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit. Just get the cash you need and leave your primary mortgage intact. Loan Pronto can get you $50,000, $75,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in just a matter of days. Bottom line, Loan Pronto's got several options to help you erase debt and take control of your finances. Call today, and you can even skip your next 2 mortgage payments. Call Loan Pronto now at 904-999-1508. 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com, 999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, 5.49%, has 6.39 APR, subject to lender approval.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels, driven by Tire Outlet.
Brought to you by Underwood Jewelers.
And First Coast Lighting and Fans on 1010XL.
One segment to go here on Helmets and Heels, driven by Tire Outlet. We were just discussing our sports crushes in the break. Well, at least Taylor and I's. Mia doesn't have one.
I can't think of, I'm trying to think, even as a little kid.
Really?
No.
I guess it's different for everybody. I think I've had a sports crush every year until probably the last few years. But I would say when I was in college, Jesse Palmer was the quarterback at Florida. So he was definitely my sports crush, which congratulations to he and his wife. They just had their baby girl. Yeah. And I mean, now that he's been on The Bachelor and the host of those things, I'm like, okay.
It's a little cheesy at that point.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, he was certainly a fun guy to at least think about when you're in college, dream about. I know. Did that come out right? Unfortunately, we don't have yours to discuss, Mia.
No, I'm honestly racking my brain.
That's all right.
Maybe this makes
you
Kevin.
shouldn't have to think that hard. If you
I was gonna say this makes.
I can name 5 right now.
This makes Kevin feel good that this is how my brain works.
Absolutely. All right, get it to the coaching carousel here quickly, and we'll get it back to basketball. The Titans last night hired Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan. I think many people thought that Bobby Slowick, the Texans offensive coordinator, would get that job. Any surprise for y'all when that news came out last night?
I'm a little surprised. I mean, from what I was people I was talking to, Callahan certainly was a candidate. He was a guy who was getting some push late. But hey, credit to the Titans. Apparently, there's a whole story where he was supposed to fly commercial yesterday, and instead his flight got canceled, so he was going to drive, and that's when Amy Strunk was like, no, let me send a private jet just because you're so committed. And then they brought him in, and they didn't want him to leave. So then they made an offer he couldn't refuse. So there's some story floating around like that. Good hire. I think a lot of it has to deal with Will Levis and trying to bring in somebody who has worked with a young quarterback and having 5 years of experience with Joe Burrow, not 5, 4 years of experience with Joe Burrow versus Bobby Slowick's 1 year with C.J. Stroud. Maybe that was a factor. But I also think, akin to the Jaguars with Ryan Nielsen, it was, all right, if we think this is the best, one of, if not the best candidate, we better snatch him up now before he's gone.
Yeah, it did seem like that. Again, I thought it would be Slowick with what he did with C.J. Stroud this year, but certainly the Texans, at least for now, get to keep him. But it looks like Slowick is having some second interviews with teams. Yeah. But that, Taylor, to me, is the crazy part. We sit here on January 23rd. There are still 5 jobs open. And everything you read is all these teams are bringing in several people for their second rounds of interviews. Yeah. All I know is I'm just so glad the Jaguars are not
having to deal with that.
Dealing with that, yeah.
I know, and you are looking for a coaching staff, but the head coach, the one thing with that, you can't even move on to the rest until you figure that out. And the majority of these players teams, when you get rid of your head coach, a lot of the rest of the staff are going to be gone too. And so once you're not able to do anything else until you get that head coach. So, and then it also starts limiting options too, because all these other people are starting to hire their OCs and QB coaches and all of the defensive coordinators and all of these things, and it's taking some of your options off the board. So it's wild that there's that many still just floating out there with coachless.
Yeah, exactly. I thought for sure the Chargers would already have their coach. I thought
they may, by the way.
And they might. You're right. Harbaugh might get announced any second. He certainly has been there a lot, it seems. The Seahawks, I thought by now, because I thought the reason they would have let Pete Carroll walk away from being a head coach is because they had an idea. I thought maybe Vrabel would be the head coach there already. Mm-hmm. The Falcons, I thought were going to hire Bill Belichick after 2 meetings with him, but now I'm not so sure about that.
Well, they took it off the board. Joe Cowart noted that on primetime today. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think that it's the worst kept secret in Atlanta. I keep seeing.
What are you waiting for?
Well, I keep seeing reporters being like, well, they're trying to fulfill the Rooney Rule and leave no stone unturned. And it's like, listen, we all know where this is headed. Just hire him. You've had interviews with everybody from my grandma to my neighbor at this point. You have fulfilled the Rooney Rule. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, the Commanders and the Panthers, I thought those would take a while because I thought everybody who was a top candidate would get hired before those 2 jobs would be filled.
So the Panthers did promote Dan Morgan internally. to the full-time GM and president role, which has gotten a lot of heat around the National Football League and online and social media because people can't help but wonder. I mean, I understand he was a former player, very much appreciated in the city of Charlotte. Is he just a yes man to David Tepper? And was David Tepper waiting on the head coaching hire until he had someone that Dan Morgan could, quote-unquote, sign off on, which is really David Tepper signing off?
Yeah, I'm really glad we don't cover the Panthers.
I don't know if I was about to say, if I was a Panthers fan, I would probably want Tepper gone anyways. But
absolutely.
You, especially when you the decisions that he's made the last few years, and I just mentioned two big ones earlier, and Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore, terrible decisions that have completely altered. You drafted a quarterback last year and literally did everything opposite of help him that you could.
Yes, you are right about that. Quick update when it comes to FSU Syracuse. It is all knotted up at 26, so a good game there with about 3:40 left to play. Speaking of local basketball, though, UNF really off to a good start when it comes to the A-Sun. We know that Chaz Lanier just earned his second A-Sun Player of the Week honor, and head coach Matthew Driscoll and his staff, now the winningest staff in A-Sun history, which I mean, I think he and that staff are going to be there a long time. So they're probably going to end up as being the winningest staff in ASUN history, I think, period, end of story, once all is said and done. But either way, what Coach Driscoll has done, if you talk to anyone who's a UNF supporter, they will tell you they lost 4 players to NIL deals because other schools are able to give things that UNF is not able to do so. And, of course, they lost Dimitri Moss as well to a season-ending injury earlier this season. And so that's one of their better guards. And so what he's been able to do, certainly Chaz Lanier, Dorian James have stepped up. Jake Vander Heiden, how do you say that last name? Also steps playing really well as of late as well.
Dude, Chaz, great guy, first of all. But Chaz last year, from covering the games, doing sidelines, doing play-by-play, like Chaz was like the lovable goofball, like a bit almost among, some of the staffers at UNF. Like if they needed someone to give him a giggle, it was Chaz just being awkward and funny. Now he is literally among the top 3 scoring leaders in the A-Sun. He was averaging, 50% shooting last week or something? Like, there was some crazy number thrown out there. He is their best player. He is a top 5 player in the conference. It is a trajectory and a story arc I did not see coming, but
is he still goofy, though?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
don't lose that. I love that.
I think he's still goofy. I think it just, he's taken on a different role. And I think.
Which he had to, it seems like.
From my vantage point, it definitely feels like being picked to finish second to last in the conference for the first time since Matthew Driscoll's first year.
Lit a fire
under that team, and they're finding ways to win games, and they have a big test when they head to Eastern Kentucky. 5-0, the only 5-0 team in the conference. Although there's an argument to be made that UNF should be 5-0. Their only loss in conference was on a buzzer beater, essentially, to Stetson, their first game.
So, yeah, the schedules for this week, UNF at Bellarmine Thursday, tipping off at 6:30, and then at Eastern Kentucky, like Mia just said, Saturday, 4 p.m. JU obviously plays the flip-flop of that at Eastern Kentucky Thursday, tipping off at 7 p.m. at Bellarmine Saturday at 4 p.m. Quick gymnastics update for y'all because I know you cannot survive without a Florida gymnastics update. So Florida was at Auburn this past week. Florida had to meet the prior week, but I wasn't able to watch because I was at the River City Rumble. So
Is
first
Suni
time
Lee still at Auburn?
She's not.
Oh.
Yeah. So when I tell you that Florida was able to win, it is because in part Suni Lee is no longer there, but it's also because Trinity Thomas is no longer there for Florida. Neither is Kayla DiCello because she wants to participate in the Olympics, so she's focusing on that, not college gymnastics. So it came down to sort of the very end. Florida was way ahead of Auburn, and then Auburn had some stumbles on beam. And so if you know about college gymnastics, the home team always finishes on floor. So Auburn, being the home team, did beam and then floor to finish. And so as long as Florida had a decent beam routine from their gymnasts, was going to win in pretty easy fashion. They were up by like half of a point, which is a ton. As it turns out, Florida started to wobble on beam. One person almost fell off, one gymnast almost fell off, but she thankfully was able to hold on. And you can drop one score, but if you have multiple gymnasts have issues, well, then you're in trouble. Well, Florida had a saving grace, and that is that 2 of the Auburn gymnasts on floor at home stepped out of bounds. You almost never see that. On the road, maybe, because the sight lines are a little different. But at home, you literally almost never see that. And they were 2 of their best gymnasts, too. So I thought Auburn was going to possibly get the win, even though, like I said, Florida was super far ahead, half a tenth a point. I said half a point earlier. That's way too much. But in the end, like I said, Florida was able to win. All Florida needed at the very end was like a 9-8. They got that easily on Beam. And so Florida lives to play, not lives, it's a regular season meet, but Florida plays host to Alabama this coming weekend.
Ooh, that's a big
Both
one.
top 10.
Can I ask you real quick?
Yeah.
Because obviously when we're talking about home games and home advantage for football and basketball, we know what all those are. Is there a reason that home teams get floor last, finish with floor?
Yes, because you get the crowd into it, and so it's part of your home meet advantage, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was going to pair, real quick, a men's basketball update, the storyline of the weekend. I already pronounced it for Frank and Hayes. I don't think you guys are prepared for this, but actually Taylor may be because I practiced this earlier. The biggest story in men's basketball over the weekend, arguably, was Big Z.
Oh, yeah. The Kentucky player.
Yes, the Kentucky player, which I want to pair with Florida because amateur status, NCAA, is such a fascinating situation we find ourselves in. In the case of Big Z, it was because he was playing in a professional league in Europe, but he hadn't actually renounced his amateur status, which is why it took 2 months for the NCAA to rule that he could play for Kentucky. And in the same light, it's so interesting with gymnasts and other Olympic sports that they have to renounce their college eligibility so that they can compete in the Olympics. I kind of think it's archaic at this point.
It is. And
you feel like they would change that.
Yeah, you could bring golf into it, too, with the amateur that just won and not even being able to keep the money in Nick Dunlop. All right, let's say hello to Rick Ballou.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Tire Outlet. Tire Outlet is now hiring. Visit TireOutlet.com/careers. Equal opportunity employer.
Rick, are you locked into FSU Syracuse men's basketball?
I'm not. I see it's up. I'm not at all.
That's
They've been on a little nice run. They struggled last week.
Yeah, against Clemson.
I think they'd won 4 in a row or 4 out of 5.
They went over Wake Forest.
Playing some better basketball, but
I've
never been one to bite the hand that feeds you. But I got plenty of other things I can talk about. I'm not enamored. No.
All right. So
I would have fired him 20 years ago, and he's still the coach.
That's true.
I was in Chicago, and I would have fired him.
He's done some good things since then. That's the good news.
They don't care, though. I mean, they really don't. It's gravy, and they care about baseball, and they care about a lot of women's athletics. But basketball has always been way, way, way down at Florida State. And he's done a really nice job recruiting. Put some guys in the NBA. He's never been a good X's and O's guy. He's never been a good in-game basketball coach, in my opinion.
All right, what's coming up tonight?
We got a lot tonight. A lot on the Jaguars. JJ and I are both baseball fans. So the Hall of Fame announcement came in. My opinion on the steroids is they've paid the penance. It's time. Everyone cheated in that era, and I know most out there still disagree with that, and that's fine. But I think time kind of gives you an opportunity to forgive. And Manny Ramirez and Alex Rodriguez are arguably two of the greatest right-handed hitters of the last 50 years, and they got just over 30% of the vote. So I have an issue with that, and we'll spend a little bit of time on that, but certainly more on the Jaguars and a lot of good stuff coming up tonight.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Rick.
All right, have a good night.
All right, there he goes. Stay tuned for Into the Night with Rick Ballou. That comes up next. For Taylor Dahl, for me, O'Brien, for JJ Silva, I'm Lauren Brooks. Don't go anywhere. Keep it right here on 1010XL 92.5 FM.